the script's kind of interesting. One night I just flipped it open and read it, and I thought, this is kind of a bizarre story and a little different.
I'm Sue, and that's my brother Tao.
So?
I'm sorry.
Sorry for what?
Trying to steal your car.
I hadn't done anything in 4 years as an actor and hadn't planned on doing any more, really. I was kind of enjoying it behind the camera.
Okay, go ahead. Whenever Clint chooses to act and direct in a movie, and besides the fact that he's, producing and thinking about the music throughout, he's got a lot going on.
I always swore after a couple of years, I'd gravitate out of acting, and here I am, still doing it as a derelict.
I couldn't imagine it being anybody else when I read it, It was just one of those things. It has to be Clint, or you shouldn't make the movie.
Ever notice how you come across somebody once in a while that you shouldn't have fucked with? That's me.
It just felt like an extension of his Dirty Harry character and of his westerns and so forth, and seemed to fit perfectly into the sort of the arc of Clint's career in terms of an actor and a director.
I saw you come around.
Yeah, I came around, yeah. Really, they all lined up beautiful.
When I read it, I thought somebody sort of tailored this for me, but I hadn't talked to any writers or anything. So if it wasn't me, I don't know who they'd gone to. There's not too many actors my age around.
Clint and Rob asked me, they said, did you write that for Clint? And I said, no. And I think they're a little bit surprised. I think a lot of people would be scared to play that part. And he took it and not only ran with it, but filled it out even more than was on the page.
Get off my lawn.
Okay, but you better watch your back.
He's a guy who is very, very disturbed about the way culture has gone. He's had a loss in the family. He's estranged from his grown children, and he doesn't like the way the neighborhoods have changed.
The character of Walt is like a lot of men I knew growing up. And I worked constructions, I worked in trades, and I met a lot of those type of guys.
How many swamp rats can you get in one room?
Most people somewhere in their family have had a relative, a father, an uncle that has been off the wall like this.
And we all kind of cringe when they make these really politically incorrect statements.
There's a Mexican, a Jew, and a colored guy go into a bar. The bartender looks up and says, "Get the fuck out of here."
I think Clint felt like he could just tell this story and be truthful to his character, and that character would talk like that and would have those prejudices. He was in Korea, and he's a lonely, cranky guy.
I think he's definitely a racist, and that's what kind of struck me when I first read it, was that he's kind of an unapologetic racist and has no sort of qualms about being completely open about it.
What are all you fish heads looking at anyway?
That's the way people talked in Walt's generation. Actually, that's the generation I grew up in, but Walt, he has everybody categorized, and that's just the way he is. He doesn't want anything to do with anybody, and especially people that are different than he is.
Why can't you people just leave me alone?
We brought you some shadows to plant in your garden.
I don't want them.
People can change, especially Walt. He can be really mean at first, but once you actually get to know the person, people can change.
Hmong isn't a place, it's a people. Hmong people come from different parts of Laos, Thailand, and China.
Yeah. Well, how did you end up in my neighborhood then? Why didn't you stay there?
I got a call one day from a friend saying Clint Eastwood is going to do a story with some Hmong stories in it.
Take one. Speed.
We looked at him as a superstar when I first came to America and did not speak English, but saw him on TV. And today, for him to take an interest and say, I want to do a story of the Hmong people, it's just heart-touching.
Most people I've talked to don't know what the Hmong culture is.
Damn barbarians.
Because they helped America during the Vietnam War, they became refugees, and so a lot of them have withstood a lot of sadness, and so they're tough people.
They have a really fascinating story. They're very, very warm, friendly people, and they're a very tight-knit community.
Hmong people, they're always about family, always about being together, eating together.
We try to stick to each other, because if we don't help one another, nobody's going to help us.
I appreciate you doing something on your own, but you're the only one I know that's dumb enough to get himself killed trimming a tree branch.
It's interesting how Clint could latch onto a story like this and take it to heart and really want to do a good job and show how important these Hmong people are in our community.
The young always respect the elderly. They teach the young to carry their heritage.
Hmong people believe that the soul resides on the head.
Sounds dumb, but fine.
And also to respect each other, to care for your loved ones.
Feels so good, smells good too.
Well, of course, it's Hmong food.
Yeah. Okay. Can I come back for seconds?
And I guess that's one of the reasons why it kind of helps Walt to realize and appreciate Hmong culture a bit more.
You ladies are wonderful. He changes when he realizes these people are intelligent and they're very respectful of their cultures. But eventually he comes around and befriends these people.
Then it goes to me with a little kid going through, if you want to come up for that.
The thing I love most about the script is how he goes from this rough, grumpy man.
Pilarski'd roll over in his grave if he could see his lawn now.
And you see this amazing transformation at a certain point when he actually starts to take to Tao.
Toad. Nothing, never mind.
He says you have no happiness in your life. It's like you're not at peace.
To see the shaman telling him the way he relates, like, wow, I relate to these Hmong people more than I relate to my kids. Like, they understand me more.
God, I've got more in common with these gooks than I do my own spoiled, rotten family.
To see the Walt character interact with the Hmong people, just very old school. He's just so out of his element. I just found it hilarious, and I don't take offense. I mean, here's the thing, I come from Asian descent, and I know there are differences in the world, and I love difference, but just to see those two worlds mix, I was really drawn to that.
You can definitely think about it. All right.
I think that it's a great thing that Clint was so serious about getting it right and bringing in cultural advisors and making sure that everything was as specific and realistic as it could be.
This represents a traditional Hmong costume, and as you can see, it's very ornate and it's beautiful. This skirt is like an accordion, beautiful design. And this, of course, with the fringe, this is called actually their money belt with all the coins hanging off of it. All of this money represents the wealth of the family. Because of the noise level, it also wards off evil spirits.
What's she saying? Oh, no, she's not.
Yeah, no, she didn't.
The hardest part was when you're editing those scenes is hoping that you're editing from one side or another side, angle to angle, you're cutting through a sentence correctly. Quite frankly, when we had an interpreter sit down with us, we were very close.
They nailed it. I think they did a great job. I think the sets and the costumes and all that stuff was dead on,
It's fun because in a way you start out with a lot of pre-prejudice and then you work your way out of it through your relationships with various people.
You know something, kid, you're all right.
When I first read the script of Gran Toрино, I thought, oh boy, I've got my work cut out for me. This is going to be really interesting and we're going to go down a really wild road, and we did. About half the cast is Hmong, and there are not many Hmong actors, so this involved a lot of digging, making inroads, gaining their trust. The Hmong community is a pretty tight community, and the word really spread around.
The biggest challenges had to have been finding the Sue and Tao roles. They were very meaty characters. They held a lot of weight. That was probably the most challenging, yet the most gratifying once we found them.
At first, I thought that this was not real. Maybe it was a hoax or something, you know? I was skeptical because Hmong people in this industry, why would they want Hmong people when they could get some professional Korean or Chinese actors?
A lot of directors, producers want names. Clint is very much into authenticity. It's not necessarily the name, but the performance.
What are you doing?
Thinking. Dating time is over.
Now it's time to knock the ass out of those pricks.
I know you want to hear this, but you have to calm down.
What?
You have to have a clear head, otherwise mistakes get made.
No. Don't let me down, Walt. Not you. This is gonna end today.
When I first saw Vang, I went to St. Paul, and my New York associate had been there for a few days and had been putting some people on tape, and she had sheets of people with their pictures. And I remember the little sheet that Vang filled out with his picture, and I wrote on it, "I heart Vang," because I just loved his face, and I just thought he had this quality that was so open and sweet, and you just wanted him to be okay.
You know, his hair was kind of all sticking up on top of his head, and he just looked kind of out of place, and Clint loved it. When we eventually decided on him, Clint told me and Ellen, be sure you tell him not to cut his hair. I don't want him all looking all slick and everything when he shows up on the set. I like that really, you know, that natural, sort of almost goofy look that he had.
Excuse me, sir. I need a haircut. If you ain't too busy, you old Italian son of a bitch prick barber.
He didn't have any that confidence of somebody who had done a lot of acting, but yet he had enough, he had faith in whatever we told him, so he came along, he was terrific.
When I found out that Clint was doing a movie about Hmong people, I was kind of like happy. I was really happy because, you know, I'm like, Hmong people, what? This is random. But then I was sad because I'm like, I might not be able to star in it.
What's going on? He left without me.
Where? Where'd he go?
He went to Smokey's without me.
No! No, Tao. Don't you dare. Stay away from those people. I don't want anyone else getting hurt.
Leave me alone.
No! No, Tao!
She's pretty much like her character, very fun girl, friendly. We wanted the sister to have a slightly more tough edge, a little more protective. She definitely had that, and a great kind of youthfulness about her too, a great teenage quality that we all loved.
Whitney jumped right into it, but I looked at all these people on tapes, and I looked at various interviews of them talking, and then also even playing some of the dialogue, and they seemed to have a natural flair for it, so I figured that once they owned the role, they would do even better.
It's nice of you to kind of look after him like this. He doesn't have any real role models in his life.
Well, I'm not any role model.
But you're a good man, Wally. I wish our father would have been more like you.
Don't go calling me Wally.
I think she's the anchor of the movie in many ways. You know, she's the one that brings Walt out of his shell. She really gets to his heart quickly, and it's for me, it's one of the most magnificent parts of the movie.
Hi there, Walt.
Look, I'm not a friend of yours. Why do you insist on calling me Walt?
Sorry? Mr. Kowalski.
The role of the priest, Christopher Carley's part. Everyone wanted that part. Everyone wants to work with Clint anyway. But that was a really juicy role. And again, Clint didn't care about having a star in that role. At one point he said to me, "Where are the young Pat O'Briens?" And I just got it. I got what he wanted. And right after that we saw Christopher Carley.
I heard there was some trouble in the neighborhood. Why didn't you call the police?
He just looked like a priest. He had this open Irish face, red hair. I showed it to Clint. I was kind of excited about it because I thought this might really be what he's talking about. And Clint said he looks like Spencer Tracy, and I knew he was going to cast him at that point.
There was a lot of good actors, did very good readings on tape, but his was a combination of his delivery and also his look. Because with every role you're looking for, a lot of times you have a lot of good people that audition, but there may not be the right look for the picture.
What are you going to do, Walt?
Whatever it is, they won't have a chance.
He's really not interested in somebody's A-list, B-list rating. He just knows what he likes, and that's what he trusts. It's a lot of fun for me to be able to find people for him.
I like to see new people come along and have opportunities, but at the same token, if it's somebody who's well known and it suits the film, then I go ahead and go for it. If I can use somebody who's lesser known, but they happen to fit the role, then that's fine. There's no real rule to it. Every picture has its own personality.
Making a film with Clint is great fun for all of us because it's an opportunity for all of us to get back together again.
I know. The father put that up.
You hear a lot about the Clint Eastwood sets, how they do not very many takes and it's very efficient, and they're ahead of schedule and under budget, and every bit of that was true. I was amazed, and it was just a well-oiled machine.
And on so many movie sets, there's this jockeying that goes on when you first start out. It's all these new people coming together for the first time and trying to understand each other. But on a Clint set, all that is gone. It's just a group of people who know each other very well getting together to focus on making the best movie they can.
Just close me in and go to lunch.
I love working with Clint because he trusts you and he trusts your work.
It makes everybody else's job a lot easier when you see your director cool and confident, you know, right behind the camera. You're like, wow, he's not worrying, so why should I worry?
Working on Clint Eastwood's set, I would have to say it's a wonderful vacation. Everyone is really chill and down to earth, and even Clint Eastwood himself is a really great guy, and he allows an actor to do what an actor should do and just live the moment.
You don't mess with Fresno girls.
I'm not one of those guys who likes to show that there's a lot of magic in it. If there is any magic in filmmaking, it should be very subtle. But for the most part, it's just everybody doing their job and participating. It's a fun process. When it doesn't become fun, you won't see me doing it anymore.
I guess because you start in a fairly dark place with this Archie Bunker character, to watch the movie kind of get lighter and lighter and see him loosen up and all that, I mean, that's when it just becomes this irresistible journey that you never want to end.
The fact that neighborhoods change and different groups of people come in and displace the groups that are there, I mean, that's something that goes on every day in cities throughout the United States. So it's a whole other reason why this story is so easy for people to relate to.
I have a lot of hope, and it just takes one voice, and I'm hopeful that people will, take a moment just to get to know their neighbors and learn why the Hmong people are in America and who we really are and what is it we want to get out there.
I did like the Hmong people. I have great respect for them. I have great respect for the enthusiasm they put forth on this project, because they could have easily just said, no, we don't want to be part of it. But I think they were flattered that somebody wanted to do a picture that involved their people. It was a big pleasure for me to work with them.
Guys, thank you all for a great show. That is a picture wrap.